Doug Maurice along with Ari Wasserman and the walking billboard, William Landis.
Branding.
How sweet is that, dude?
Love this shirt. Wear it every day.
Northeast Ohio Media Group. I hear they're comprehensive.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about the Ohio State Buckeyes, who will play Western Michigan in Game 4 of the season on Saturday. And this is not exactly a specific question pegged to Western Michigan. It is a question pegged to the Ohio State Buckeyes in the season. Is this Ohio State team vulnerable to losing right now? With what we saw against Northern Illinois, with what we heard Urban Meyer say on Monday about the offensive issues with this team, which go far beyond just the quarterback. Ari Wasserman, this was your topic idea. Do you think this team is vulnerable to a loss in the right situation right now?
Yeah, I coming into the year, I was just like, they're not going to lose no matter what until they get to the playoff or maybe lose to Michigan State. But like for the first 10 weeks of the season, I just thought it'd be smooth sailing. And I don't know that that's the case right now. Between the quarterback situation and Urban Meyer's hesitance to really go with one guy, even though he says that they're just going with the best guy and they have options, or whatever that means. There's not one quarterback right now. And the offense doesn't seem to be able to get into a rhythm. And as great as the defense is playing, I think that it's very hard for Ohio State to lose, but I don't think they're untouchable the way that I maybe envisioned going into the year.
I like to play this game after games are done. How many teams could have beaten Ohio State on a certain day? They have to play their schedule. Their schedule is what it is. Brett Bielema could talk about that. There were teams that would have beaten Ohio State on Saturday. Teams that weren't in the MAC. 12, 15, 18. I mean, there are top 20 teams from power conferences who, if Ohio State played that exact game, Ohio State would have lost. Do you feel like this is a vulnerable team?
I do, yeah. I think the number might be higher than 12 or 15 or 18. They gave Northern Illinois the ball 3 times in the last 6 minutes with a chance to tie it. And Northern Illinois, for as good as we said they were on offense coming in, and they've been one of the most potent offenses over the last 5 or 6 years, they're still a MAC team. They still have MAC talent, and I don't think anybody thought that Northern Illinois, outside of something crazy happening, was going to move the ball down the field and score a game-tying touchdown against Ohio State.
Let me interrupt. So you think if there had been a competent quarterback, like a good offense there with those opportunities, somebody may have cashed that in, a different team with a better offense?
Yeah, I was even thinking like 2 weeks from now when they play at Indiana. If Indiana is in that situation with Nate Sudfeld, a quarterback, and a good running back, and Jordan Howard, and an offensive lineman who can give a quarterback time, yeah. I think any team, not any team in the Big Ten, but any team certainly in the top half of the Big Ten could have marched downfield and made things interesting. Giving the other team the ball 3 times when you're only up a touchdown is not a really good way to go about things. So I think right now, yeah, the offense is making this team vulnerable to losing to teams that aren't in the MAC.
Now, I will say I did pick Ohio State to lose a regular season game, and I picked them to lose a game you didn't expect them to lose. In picking somebody, I said Penn State, but the idea is the Purdue 2009 kind of game, which is the game you don't see coming. We almost had that on Saturday. It wasn't the worst, I think, that we've seen of the Urban Meyer era. Statistically, in a lot of ways, offensively it was. I think we have to remember what this team looked like in early 2012, his first year, when they were basically running the single wing with Braxton Miller. And Urban Meyer talks about that all the time. They just snapped it to the quarterback and he ran. You know, they played very poorly against Cal that year and could have lost. They should have lost to Purdue that year. A Purdue team that was so bad Danny Hope got fired, almost beat Ohio State. They had to get a miraculous touchdown and a 2-point conversion just to force overtime with the backup quarterback. So as low as this was, I think it's the context that is makes this look so low because nobody expects this. But in a lot of ways, Ari, a point you made, is this reminding you of Virginia Tech last year in a game that actually was a loss for the Buckeyes a year ago?
A lot of things that people were saying that we spoke with on Monday were kind of reminiscent of that past year. They were running the odd front, and they weren't prepared for it. They didn't practice it, and they had a hard time, obviously, adjusting to it. And that's why I agree with Bill. I think it's more than 12 or 15. I think if they were playing a team like Northwestern, they would have lost. A team that has, higher caliber talent than MAC. And I don't want to take anything away from Northern Illinois. They're a solid team. They win 11 games every year. But them winning 11 games every year doesn't mean that, they might have lost to Virginia Tech if they had come out like that. Now, I'm not going to be doom and gloom and say that they're probably I mean, I think it just takes one game to forget these things. And that's the point that we made after Hawaii. But as it becomes a trend, that's when you have to start worrying about, hey, what's the problem here? If Ohio State's offense is just not getting into an offensive rhythm when you head into the conference play, if it happens again on Saturday, then I'd be a lot more worried if I were an Ohio State fan. But just the idea that they put themselves in a situation where they could have lost to Northern Illinois. Maybe they weren't in any real danger of actually losing, but they could have lost to Northern Illinois. There are probably 40 teams, I would think, that were talented enough to beat Ohio State if they played the same exact game.
Here's the thing I think is important to take away from this, as many people want to say, and it's legitimate, hey, they're 3-0. They won. Chill out. I get that. If anybody watched the Alabama-Ole Miss game on Saturday night, Ohio State repeatedly was in a situation where they were one play away of the ball bouncing off a guy's helmet and a guy runs 60 yards for a touchdown. Northern Illinois had the ball 3 times down 1 score. All they needed was one weird thing to happen where Garyon Conley has perfect coverage and the ball hits him in the shoulder and it pops up in the air. The Northern Illinois guy gets it and runs 80 yards, and then they go for 2 and win. That's what happened in the Alabama-Ole Miss game. There was like a double bobble touchdown.
That's how BYU got ranked.
Things happen, and they put themselves in the situation where something could have happened to them. Now, this team, as we look back on last year, sometimes I think we remember the postseason when they just crushed people.
Yeah.
For like 12 games last year, we couldn't figure out what they were. We couldn't figure out when they were going to be dominant or when they were going to be a little off. They were a little off the last couple weeks against Indiana and Michigan after they looked awesome at Michigan State. So I think we're back there a little bit, but I think this is real. I think this is real for people to have questions about this.
The one thing that we have to remind ourselves of is Ohio State returned their entire team, basically, especially offensively from last year. But this is still a non-conference 2015 team. As good as they were last year, I still think it takes time, some game. It's been, 7 months since that happened. So I think that there's still, with any team, you're not supposed to be as good as your national championship version of yourself in week 3 or 4. So I think that Urban Meyer and the rest of the team anticipates that they're going to continue to develop and get better as the year goes on. And, 3 weeks into the season, they're not where they want to be right now, but they're not supposed to be as good as they were against Alabama and Oregon right now, in my opinion.
Your gut right now, are we looking at a bounce back this week? As we stand here on Monday, the bounce back many people expected last week, do we see that from Ohio State on Saturday?
I don't think so. I think as long as Urban Meyer is still unsure about who the quarterback is, the offense is going to look this way.
Bill Landis, Ari Wasserman, he's back. We missed him.
I miss you guys so much.
Doug Lesmerises, follow along all week with the most interesting team in America. They're number 1. They're still the best team in a lot of people's minds. They're certainly the most interesting team. Thanks as always for reading and for watching here at cleveland.com.